They don't mean to. At least I don't think they do. But every word feels like a reminder you're still here, and your sister has already moved on. I've heard variations of that line my whole life, sometimes soft and sugar-coated, like a spoonful of honey over poison, other times sharp, like a knife you don't see coming. I'm 32 years old, unmarried, living in the same house I grew up in. I help take care of my parents, pay the bills when they forget, fix the leaky sink when it gives up again. But none of that matters, not really. Because in this house, the scoreboard is simple, Sophia. 1, Isabella, 0. Sophia, my younger sister, got married 2 years ago to Daniel. And every time they come back for dinner, it's like my parents roll out a red carpet for royalty. You'd think the Pope himself was stepping through the door. And me? I'm the background music. Faint, forgettable, always there, but never noticed. That night was no different. The doorbell rang, and suddenly the whole house lit up like Christmas morning. My mother practically sprinted to the door. My father even adjusted his sweater vest like he was meeting the president. And there they were. Sophia, glowing, radiant, 5 years younger than me and already the golden daughter. Daniel, tall, kind eyes, charming in that effortless way that makes people lean in when he talks. "Sweetheart," my mother gushed, wrapping Sophia in a hug. My father clapped Daniel on the back like he was already the son they always wanted. Meanwhile, I stood at the edge of the living room, half smiling, half wishing I could disappear into the carpet. Dinner was a performance, as it always was. Sophia beamed while telling stories about their new apartment, their dinner parties with friends, the little trip they took last weekend. Daniel chimed in with jokes, perfectly timed, making my parents laugh so hard they nearly cried. And me? I passed the dishes, nodded at the right times, and tried not to notice how my parents' eyes sparkled every time Daniel opened his mouth. Then came the moment. It always comes. "So, Isabella," my mother said, turning toward me with that practiced casualness that fools no one, "when will it be your turn?" My fork froze halfway to my plate. My father chuckled like it was all a harmless joke. Sophia gave me that sweet, pitying smile I've grown to hate. And Daniel? Daniel just looked at me. Too long. Long enough for my heart to pound against my ribs. I forced a smile. I guess when it happens, it happens. They laughed politely, moved on, but Daniel's gaze lingered, steady and unreadable. I looked away first. Later, after dessert, I slipped into the kitchen to start on the dishes. It was my ritual, the one place I could breathe without feeling like the family disappointment. The hot water scalded my hands, but I welcomed it. Pain was easier to deal with than invisibility. And then I heard his voice. "Need a hand?" I turned. Daniel stood in the doorway, sleeves rolled up, that easy smile on his face. "I'm fine," I said quickly. "You're the guest." He shrugged. "Doesn't mean I can't help." Before I could stop him, he was at the sink beside me, drying dishes with a towel. For a moment, it felt normal. Too normal. We laughed about the mountain of plates, joked about how my father eats like he's training for an Olympic event. Daniel teased me about the way I stack dishes. Apparently, I have a mathematical precision he found amusing. It was nothing, just small talk. But my chest tightened anyway, because it felt natural, too natural, the kind of natural I knew I had no right to feel. I pulled away, wiped my hands. "Thanks, but I've got it." He gave me a look, not questioning, not prying, just seeing. And then he nodded, walked back into the living room. I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath for hours. That night, I sat in front of the mirror in my childhood bedroom, the same mirror I used to practice smiles in before high school dances I never actually went to, the same mirror I cried in front of when Sophia got her prom dress before I did. Now it reflected a woman in her 30s with tired eyes and questions she couldn't ask out loud. "Why him?" I whispered. My voice cracked. "Why now?" The silence answered back. I hated myself for thinking it, for feeling it, for letting my heart betray the one person I should protect at all costs, my sister. But desire doesn't ask permission. It doesn't knock politely before entering your chest. It just arrives, sits down, and refuses to leave. The next morning, over breakfast, my parents gushed about Sophia and Daniel again. "They're proof we raised them right," my father said proudly. My mother nodded in agreement. Proof? I stirred my coffee slowly, forcing my face into neutrality. Proof? Or just another reminder that I'll always be measured against what I'm not?
And here's the thing. If you've ever lived in a shadow, if you've ever had your worth measured by someone else's success, you know this story already. You know how it feels to smile while dying inside. And if you're into the real stories, the ones with the messy twists families like mine hide behind closed doors, then stick around. Because this one, it's darker, it's complicated, and it only gets messier from here. So if you're still here, go ahead and subscribe, because what happens next, well, it's the kind of thing people pretend never happened, but I'm telling it all. Time is strange when you live at home in your 30s. Days blur. The silence of this house swallows everything. But the rhythm always changes when Sophia and Daniel visit. It's a routine now, a pattern burned into my bones. The doorbell rings, my mother straightens her blouse, my father sets down the paper, and the performance begins. "Look who's here!" My mother's voice always carries a lilt of pride, like she's introducing royalty. Sophia glows in the doorway, Daniel right beside her, tall and warm. She's the daughter who did it right, the daughter who checked every box. Married young, found a husband who charmed everyone, built the picture-perfect life. Every time they fuss, they gush, they beam. And me? I sat at the dining table, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting for the script I know is coming. "So, Isabella, when will it be your turn?" I laugh softly, as if it doesn't cut anymore, but it still does. And yet, I catch myself waiting for these visits, looking forward to them, not because of Sophia, not because of the endless comparisons, because of him, Daniel. The way his smile always lands on me, even when he doesn't mean it to. The way he says my name, Isabella, like it's something worth saying. He greets me warmly, too warmly, I sometimes think. A quick hand on my shoulder, a look that lingers a moment too long. And each time, my heart betrays me. I know it's wrong. I know it's dangerous. But in a life that feels so empty, even stolen glances feel like oxygen. The thing about perfect pictures is that cracks always show if you stare long enough. One evening, I slipped into the hallway to fetch wine glasses from the cabinet. The voices carried from the living room. "Daniel, I told you to remind me," Sophia snapped, her voice sharp, the edge she rarely shows in front of our parents. "I'm sorry, it slipped my mind," Daniel said softly. "You always forget the little things," she hissed. "Do you even listen to me?" I froze by the cabinet, the sound of their marriage unraveling in whispers. My parents, blissfully unaware, were busy praising Sophia's career and Daniel's manners. But I stood there, glass in hand, hearing the pieces of the perfect couple shift. Another time, it was quieter. Daniel sat at the dining table, his shoulders slumped, his eyes distant. Sophia laughed with my mother in the kitchen, retelling some story about a friend's engagement. And there he was, silent, alone in a crowded room. I saw him then, not just the charming husband, not just the golden image, but a man, flawed, tired, maybe even a little lonely. And that made everything worse, because vulnerability is dangerous. Vulnerability is the spark that ignites forbidden things. Morning breakfasts with my parents are always the same. 3 chairs, clinking spoons, silence broken by comments that sting more than they realize. "You know, Isabella," my father began one morning, folding his paper neatly, "you're not getting any younger." My mother nodded, buttering her toast. "Your sister already has such a wonderful marriage. Don't you want the same?" I swallowed the lump in my throat with my coffee. They don't see me, not really.
They see the absence of what I don't have. Sophia is their proof. I am their reminder. And the irony? The only person who ever seems to notice me is the one man I can never have, Daniel. The way he listens when no one else does. The way he remembers small things about me. The book I was reading, the project at work I thought no one cared about. Every kindness is a dagger, because kindness, when you're starved of it, feels like love. It happened on a Thursday evening. Dinner had ended, laughter echoing faintly from the living room. Sophia had gone upstairs to grab something from her old room. My parents were lost in their own conversation. And suddenly, it was just us. The kitchen was quiet, the hum of the refrigerator loud in the silence. I was rinsing plates, my hands shaking more than I wanted to admit. Daniel stepped in, leaning lightly against the counter. "You okay?" he asked gently. I forced a small smile. "Yeah, just tired." His eyes searched mine, steady, almost too steady. "You always seem distant, like you're here, but not really." My throat tightened, words pushed against the back of my teeth, begging to be set free. "Because you're the only one who sees me. Because every time you smile, it feels like something I'll never deserve." But I swallowed them back. I forced another smile, brittle and false. "I'm fine, Daniel, really." The silence between us was heavy, too heavy. For a moment, it felt like the world tilted, like if I reached out just a fraction, everything would fall apart. And then Sophia's voice called from upstairs, "Daniel!" He blinked, pulled back, straightened. "Coming!" And just like that, the moment ended. But it didn't, not really, because silence holds weight, and that silence lingered long after the dishes were done. That night, lying awake in the darkness of my room, I replayed every second. The way he looked at me, the words I didn't say, the way my heart felt like it was tearing itself in half. I thought I could bury it, lock it away, pretend it was nothing more than loneliness playing tricks on me. But some things don't stay buried. They smolder, they wait. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. It was supposed to be a celebration, my mother's birthday, balloons tied to the chairs, a cake from her favorite bakery, the dining table crowded with plates and cutlery. And of course, Sophia and Daniel arrived like they were walking into a spotlight. My mother lit up instantly. "Sophia, Daniel, you're here!" Her voice sang with delight, as if she had been holding her breath until they stepped through the door. My father clasped Daniel on the shoulder like he was a son he had always dreamed of. "Good man," he said warmly. And me? I sat in the corner, holding plates, unseen as always. The night unfolded with a script I knew too well. "You two are just such a perfect couple," my mother gushed as she cut slices of cake. "Daniel always remembers birthdays," my father added, his voice pointed just enough for me to feel the sting. Sophia beamed, radiant. Daniel smiled, gracious. And I sat there, nodding along, pretending it didn't burn. But then it happened. Across the dinner table, while laughter circled the room, my eyes found Daniel's, and his found mine. It wasn't long, just a few seconds too many, but long enough for Sophia to notice. Her smile faltered, just slightly, almost invisible, but I saw it. And in that instant, I felt like the walls were closing in. That night, the house quieted, the celebration over. I slipped into the hallway, the lights dim, carrying leftover dishes back to the kitchen. And then I heard it, muffled voices from the guest room where Sophia and Daniel stayed. "You don't listen to me anymore," Daniel's voice, low, frustrated. "I'm doing my best," Sophia snapped back. "Maybe you're the one drifting." The silence between their words was louder than anything else. I froze by the doorway, my heart pounding. Eavesdropping felt wrong, shameful, but my feet wouldn't move. Because beneath the guilt, there was something else. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the cracks in their perfect marriage meant my feelings weren't entirely impossible. And that hope scared me more than anything. Later, in the solitude of my room, I stared into the mirror. My reflection looked back, tired eyes, lips pressed tight, the kind of face that carried secrets too heavy to name. I whispered to myself, voice breaking, "Am I a monster, or am I just human for wanting to be loved?" Tears stung my eyes, slipping silently down my cheeks. I hated myself for the thought. I hated myself for the way my heart twisted every time Daniel's kindness landed on me. And yet, no matter how much I scolded myself, no matter how much shame I carried, the feeling didn't leave. It stayed, it grew, it consumed. It was a Saturday evening, late summer. The air was warm, the sky a dusky purple. I had stepped out onto the porch for air, the weight of family chatter pressing in too tight. And then Daniel was there. He leaned against the railing beside me, hands tucked in his pockets. For a moment, we just listened to the crickets, the faint laughter from inside. "You always step away," he said gently, "like you're not really here." I forced a laugh. Maybe I just like the quiet. He turned toward me, his gaze steady, too steady. "You deserve someone who really sees you, Isabella." The words hit harder than I was ready for. My lips parted, my heart racing. His name hovered on my tongue. The truth clawed its way to the surface, the truth I had buried, the truth I had sworn never to speak. "Daniel." But I swallowed it back, choking it down with all the force I had. I looked away, blinking hard. "I'm fine," I whispered instead. And just then, the door creaked open. Sophia's voice called into the night. "Daniel, are you out here?" He straightened quickly, stepping back. "Coming." And just like that, the moment shattered. But inside me, it still burned. It didn't take long. Sophia wasn't blind. She wasn't oblivious. She began to notice the way I avoided looking at Daniel too long, the way I flushed when he spoke to me, the way my voice faltered around him. One afternoon, as we cleared the table together, she leaned close. Her voice was casual, but her eyes sharp. "You've been acting strange lately," she said. "Is everything okay?" I forced a smile, my hands tight around the plates. "I'm fine, just tired, I guess." She studied me for a long moment, as if weighing the truth. Then she nodded slowly, but I could see it in her eyes, doubt. And doubt, once planted, grows. It was another dinner, another evening that blurred into routine. The chatter, the laughter, the comparisons. And then, across the table, it happened again. Daniel's eyes lingered on me. Mine lingered back. And Sophia saw it. She saw it, clear as day. She didn't speak, she didn't confront, but her silence was louder than words. The air at that table was suffocating, the weight of unspoken truths pressing on all of us. And in my mind, I narrated what I already knew. It was all slipping through my fingers. The secret, the shame, the line I swore I'd never cross. The evening began the way they all did, Sophia and Daniel arriving, my parents glowing with delight, the chatter of dinner filling every corner of the house. But by the end, the air had changed. When the dishes were cleared and my parents retired to their room, Sophia asked me to stay back. Her voice was calm, but her eyes sharp in a way I had never seen before. Daniel lingered nearby, confused but sensing something was coming. Sophia looked straight at me, her jaw tense. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Do you have feelings for him?" The world seemed to stop. The hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of the clock. My heartbeat, pounding so loud I thought it would give me away before my lips ever could. Daniel froze where he stood. His eyes darted between us, searching for something, anything, that would explain the question. And me? I stood rooted, every word I'd swallowed over the past months clawing at my throat. Finally, the smallest whisper escaped. "I never meant to. I never wanted this." Sophia's face broke, not into tears at first, but into something worse. Betrayal. "You're my sister," she said, her voice shaking. "My sister, Isabella." The words cut deeper than any accusation. My chest caved in, tears spilling before I could hold them back. I know, I sobbed. That's why I said nothing. That's why I've been tearing myself apart every single day. You think I don't hate myself for this? You think I wanted to feel this way? The silence stretched, raw and unbearable. Daniel finally spoke, his voice unsteady. I never thought it was that. I knew you were lonely, Isabella. I noticed, of course I did. But I never. His words trailed off, swallowed by shock. Sophia turned to him, her eyes wide, wounded, then back to me. How could you? How could you stand there at every dinner, every visit, and feel this? Her voice cracked, and that was when my heart truly broke. Because she wasn't angry, she was hurt, deeply, achingly hurt, and I had done that. I fell to the chair, burying my face in my hands. I never touched him. I never spoke it aloud. I fought it, Sophia. God, I fought it every single day. But loneliness doesn't ask permission. It just digs into you. And I looked at Daniel, my voice trembling. He's everything I wanted but never had. The admission shattered the room. Daniel looked away, shame written across his face, even though he hadn't asked for this. Sophia stood stiff, her arms crossed, holding herself as if she were freezing. No one moved, no one breathed. Finally, Sophia broke the silence. Her voice was low, but it carried the weight of finality. I can't live like this, knowing every time we come here, every time you look at him. She stopped, choking back the rest. I shook my head, desperate, sobbing. Then I'll go. I'll move out. I can't keep doing this either, Sophia. I don't want to ruin us. I don't want to ruin you. Her eyes softened, just barely. For the first time that night, she saw my pain, not as betrayal, but as the raw, messy wound it truly was. You should have told me, she whispered. Not like this. Not when it's gone so far inside you. I nodded, wiping my face, my voice hoarse. I was afraid you'd hate me, and maybe you should, but I swear I never wanted to take him from you. I just wanted to stop feeling invisible. Sophia's lips trembled. She didn't forgive me, not then, not fully, but I saw the smallest flicker of understanding. Daniel finally spoke, his voice barely audible. I think we should go. And just like that, they left. The door closed behind them, the house collapsing into silence.
Later that night, I stood in front of my mirror again, the same mirror that had reflected every whisper, every self-condemnation, every secret longing. But tonight, my reflection looked different. Not better, not healed, just stripped bare. I whispered to the glass, sometimes the hardest battles are the ones you fight with yourself, and the greatest love is knowing when to let go. Tears slid silently down my face. I didn't know if Sophia would ever truly forgive me. I didn't know if Daniel would ever look at me the same. But I knew one thing. Tomorrow, I would begin packing my things. Tomorrow, I would step out of this house, this shadow, this prison I had built inside myself. Because I couldn't stay here anymore. And maybe, just maybe, in letting go of him, I might finally find myself.